Well, it's an exciting time for consumers right now because the cost of clean energy generally has come way down, making it increasingly affordable and accessible for ratepayers and household owners. And solar energy in particular has come down 80%, the panel prices, in just the last 5 years. So that's brought on options where people can install their own clean energy on their properties. And there's a bunch of new business models that they can take advantage of. There's solar leasing is becoming increasingly popular, and that's typically you'll arrange for a contract with a solar installer, and they'll come out, they'll take care of all the permitting and all the financing and everything else. Turnkey operation, you don't have to put any money down, and you're typically going to save on your electricity bill every month. And then there's other options that are coming online, like community solar. There's lots of different flavors of that. There's a co-op model that was pioneered in DC where a bunch of neighborhood people would come together, say 50 families, say we all want to go solar. They would issue their own RFP to use their consumer buying power for some competition between solar developers, and they're seeing costs 20 to 30% below what they could get individually. And there's other community solar arrangements where multifamily units, everybody will go together and put something on their rooftop by buying jointly, or now there's a lot of community solar that's looking to buy an array, a system that's off of their property. So you could buy a couple of the panels themselves. Say you buy 5 panels out of a system of 100, or you buy a certain percentage of the output from that system. But that requires enabling legislation, and sometimes it's called virtual net metering, or sometimes community solar gardens. There's lots of different names for it. So DC passed a pretty progressive law from ratepayers' perspective last October. So those rules are being implemented in the next few months. Maryland, there was some proposal before the Maryland legislature, but it wasn't enacted. So that's something to be worked on. And then another option that's going to be maybe particularly transformative to the grid and consumer options is that even now, but in a couple of years, it'll be increasingly affordable to just cut the cord from your utility. So you could have solar panels on your roof, battery system or other technologies in the basement, and the economics are there so that you can empower yourself to generate your own electricity from the source that you want to see it from. So those are exciting, and a lot of that is happening, but say solar leasing, for example, is booming all over the country, or at least where in those states where laws allow for it. But that's happening typically on more affluent parts of town for a lot of reasons, so it won't necessarily get into. But so one of the things we're focused at the GW Solar Institute is how do we get low-income households and residents to also get the advantages of solar energy in particular. So we just had a workshop yesterday in DC, which brought together a bunch of stakeholders, about 60 stakeholders from the DC metropolitan area, from the government, district government, the federal government, solar industry, advocacy groups, and importantly, low-income housing people. Those guys don't usually talk to each other, so part of it was learning about each other's perspectives on the issue, and then thinking about creative ways, because you can use money in a lot of different ways in terms of public money. So we're trying to find a way that will really leverage the result that's out there and make sure that it's easy and accessible again for the low-income people.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent.